Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Knitting Traditions podcast. My name is Inga, and this is my little corner on the internet where I talk about my knitting. I live on the west coast of Norway, where I work as a obstetrics and gynecology resident doctor, and I just got home from work, and I have a lot to show you from the past month or so I figured I should record an episode while I have some time. It's raining outside, so I'm recording inside today, and it's actually pretty chilly outside, so I felt like I could wear my new my new finished object. So before I get into all of the things that I've been knitting on, I hope that you are cozying down with something or just having a good day. I'm enjoying some warm coffee because I had COVID last week and I'm still a bit iffy. Words make me cough. Alright, so we can start with what I'm wearing. So this is my latest finished object. This is the free pattern watchcap hat by Purl Soho. Free pattern, it's a 2x2 rib. It actually has a little bit of a on top. I didn't notice that before. Oh well. Where was I? It's a free pattern by Purl Soho called the watchcap hat. It's a simple 2x2 ribbing. And it has some decreases on the crown, so it's quite simple. I used some yarn that I got from knitcrate. I'm an affiliate member of knitcrate, and they send me 2 skeins every month for free to try, and I think this was their vidalana base. It's one of those chained yarn. I believe this one was 100% Peruvian wool. I've knit this pattern before in one of my knitcrate yarns, which was the bloom, and I don't know, I don't find this itchy as I'm wearing it now. Maybe if I was sweating or something, it'll be itchy on my forehead because everything itches on my forehead. But so far so good. I really liked the really white color. I didn't have any other yarn. I don't think I've knit anything other except for one sweater in Drops Air. That's also, it's kind of white. I don't have anything like off-white. And I have one more of these. So I could make another hat, maybe as a gift. It is a really nice mindless knit. You do have to do some magic loop on top, or you could use DPNs, of course. So ideally I would knit on a small circumference needle, and then I would change to a longer cord to do magic loop on top. So whenever I do have to change needles for a project, it's not the perfect mindless one, because the perfect mindless one would be one set of needles, cast on, cast off, done. But it's pretty simple still. So yeah, still have one left. Speaking of knitcrate, I had a giveaway last time because we reached 30,000 subscribers, so thank you so much for subscribing if you're a subscriber or just for watching me. And I wanted to do a giveaway last time, and I've drawn the winner, so I'll put the winner's name here. I used the random comment picker, and I'll be sending out their prize, which is this beautiful stitch marker and these 4 skeins of like a gradual fade set in a worsted weight. So that will be going out this week. Yes. And what else I'm wearing? This is a self-drafted sort of cropped sweater. It's not really cropped. It reaches the top of my my hip bones, and it is 3/4 length sleeves technically, but it kind of has shrunk up on me to, let's say, the elbows. I was using this when working in the garden and worn it pretty roughly, and haven't washed it since. But yeah, I used one strand of the gepard silk mohair tweed that I held single on a 3.5mm needles. I did a gauge swatch, and then I figured how much positive ease I wanted, and I did a multiplication. So if you take the circumference that you want divided by 10, and I'm talking about centimeters here, so the number of centimeters you want divided by 10, multiply it by your stitch gauge, that's how many stitches you need to cast on. So I did that for the body, I did that for the sleeves, knit them as long as I wanted it, joined it together. I think I cast off 10 stitches on the body and sleeves in order to be able to join them. And then I did raglan decreases on every second row until I kind of reached the length that I wanted. I did a few German short rows back and forth in the back, stopping here so it was a bit more raised in the back, and I bound off. And I'm actually making another one right now that I'm doing top down, because now I figured out how many stitches to end up with in the neck, and I just reversed it. So I started with that amount of stitches, did German short rows, increases, and just top down so I can maximize the yarn that I have. So that's what I'm wearing. I have some finished objects since last time. The first one you have not seen because this was a test knit since last time, and it's wrinkled up now because I've been wearing it already. This is the beautiful Summer Souffle by Laura Penrose. She has a beautiful podcast. You should check her out. She's a up-and-coming designer. She makes beautiful patterns, and this is a test knit that will end soon. I think the test knit ends in the beginning of June, if I'm not mistaken. I started this when I had COVID, and I was not able to do anything else because I could hardly breathe if I moved. So I literally knit on this from morning to night for 3 days, and it was done. It's a DK weight, so it's quite quick in that way. It's a beautiful construction top down. The ruffle is a lot of fun, or at least I think it's a lot of fun. And I'm envisioning maybe making it in white with a golden ruffle or something like that. Or if you just want a plain t-shirt, you could just not do the ruffle part, and it's a really nice basic t-shirt, and it fits really well. And Laura has made a mod so that if your sleeves are not the standard size compared to your bust size, she has modifications to make the sleeves bigger or smaller than intended for that given size that you're knitting, which I thought was great. So I knit the body size 3, and I did the size 5 sleeves, and I'm really happy with the fit of it. And the yarn that I used is the same that Laura used, the Knitting for Olive cottonmerino held double. So this is 250 meters per 50 grams, and then you hold it double, and it's 70% cotton and 30% merino. I did a swatch. I did several swatches. I had some other yarns that I did try to swatch first, but those were 100% merino yarns, and this is intended to be summer, so I acquired this yarn for this test knit. And as always, I do little purl bumps to tell me what needle size I used, so if I ever want to use this combination again in the future, I know what gauge and needle I used for this one. And yes, so that was my first finished object since last time. And, oh, I'm sitting on the yarn. Another finished object that I'm sitting on is I finally finished, and yes, I've been sitting on it since it's wrinkled up. This is the No Frill sweater by Petite Knit, which I used my supersoft cashmere cones from knitrennie or JC Rennie in Scotland. And this is the rusty pecan colorway, and it is stunning. I have not worn this yet. I've been saving it for the podcast. I'll let you know in the future how it holds up. This is really, it feels really nice. It has nice structure to it, but it's soft. That's because of the cashmere. And the fabric really, it looked really nice when knitting with it too, but it's just really even and nice. The cone smelled a lot when knitting with it, so I knit on this outside. I held this, it's an 850 gram cone. I held it double, and I could still get another sweater out of the cone after finishing this one. I think maybe this sweater, if I'm not mistaken, I might have used 350 grams or so for this sweater. And I think I knit the size small, but I didn't do the last increase row in the raglan, so it's just a tiny bit smaller than the small. And yeah, I'm really excited to start wearing this. I think it's going to be really nice with jeans. We still have some cold days, so I can still wear this before the summer, and once it gets too warm, it will wait for me in the fall. But yes, really, really happy with this. I want to knit with their cones again. I have more of them, and probably it's going to be one of those yarns that I knit with at home outside, just so I don't have to smell. I got almost all of the spinning oil out. First I soaked it in water and some wool soap that you don't have to rinse out, but that just didn't do the trick. And I used hot water. I just didn't move it around as to not felt it. So that does loosen up and release some of the oils, but it just wasn't enough. So I actually threw this in the washing machine with lots of woolen soap on a wool program, and that really did get a lot of the oils out. It did not shrink. So I think after the next time throwing it in the machine, just the washing machine, not the dryer, I think all of the spinning oils will be gone, but it's almost nothing left. It just smells like wool soap really but I do know what the oil does smell like, so I can notice a hint of it if I'm attempting to. So yeah, really happy with this. No frills in the cashmere super soft blend. Held double. And since last time, I have actually finished knitting up this beast of a cardigan. So last time I still had quite a bit of a sleeve left, and since I have finished the sleeves, and I've washed them and I've laid them out to dry, and the knitting is now done if you don't count the button bands. And this is a pattern from Rauma. This is the magazine, and in the back here it's the model 243/5. This is the redesigned to adult 243R is the name of the magazine. And yeah, I have to steek this. You can see here what I need to do with the sewing machine, and then cut it. In the top you're supposed to sort of also mark out how round you want your neck, and you have to sew and cut, and you have to measure up how long the sleeve input is gonna be, and then you have to sew and cut, graft everything together, make the button bands. And I'm just not ready for the steeking process. Not as much that I'm afraid to cut in it, and it's the sewing part that I'm dreading, but I will get to it at some point. No rush. I'm gonna do it on a day when I feel like it, and then I'm gonna have a beautiful, huge cardigan. I made the size large. Used rauma finull, and the recommended needle sizes, I believe. I didn't gauge swatch because I figured with the size large it might be huge, and if it's smaller than intended. It will still fit me, but I think it's more on the size large. It's quite long and wide. It's going to be one of those cardigans that everyone in the family can throw on when it's cold. I'm looking forward to just throwing it on when outside in the garden on chilly evenings or so. It's going to be really nice. I'm happy with it. It was quite addicting. I know that this colorwork might look daunting, and yes, it is a full-on, a lot of colorwork, but it is just 2 strands, and I always catch my floats on every 2 stitches, so I have very small floats. I did show in a previous video how I knit colorwork continental. I hold both strands on a finger on each side of the knuckle, and then I pick them above and below each other to catch the strands. And by having a lot of catched floats, it makes the fabric more stretchy. I find it makes the colorwork more even, and you can't really get stuck on anything in the back either. So that's how I like to do it. There's no right way, it's just what I do. So yeah, I'm really happy that I've finished the majority of the knitting on that. Just need to stick, graft, and then just the button band and find the perfect buttons. But I do think I have some nice wooden ones, and I think I'm gonna go for wooden ones. Okay, I have also some knitting to show you. If you remember this magazine, I knit the sweater before in yellow, the Frankie sweater. The reason I got this magazine though was for the Amy slipover, which I can show you here. I really wanted to make this. I'm not a vest person, but this is technically a super long cowl that you can tie together underneath the sleeves, and I wanted to knit this after seeing Alexandra from the Ancestral Craft. She created a long cowl that she tied a belt around, and I thought it looked really nice, and I wanted to make this when I saw it because of her. And I had some hillesvåg unspun yarn in my stash, because this pattern uses Sunday, which is a thin fingering non-superwash merino, together with the silk mohair. But I had this in my stash, and it looks exactly like the color of the Amy slipover in the magazine, and I had one of this, so like 200 grams, but I got a sweater out of 2 of these in light gray. I got the tulips. I figured I should be able to make the slipover with what I had of this unspun. And I also had some affordable, cheap silk mohair from like a commercial store here. I'm not sure if I have the ball bun. Yeah. So this is from Gjestal Garn. It's lace kid mohair, 53% mohair, 20% wool, and 27% polyamide. So I had this lying around in my stash. It's not like the softest silk mohair, but it's soft. It's very fluffy. It has a lot of long strands to it, and they were the perfect match color-wise. And I found that knitting with unspun yarn, it's not super pleasurable for me, but if I hold it with the silk mohair, I can keep my normal tension, and it's a lot more pleasant to knit with. I still have to be a little bit careful, but it's a lot better than not having it with the silk mohair. So I cast it on, and everything is either knit back and forward, or it's knit as ribbing. So it's equal amounts of purl stitches and knit stitches in this. So if you don't like purling, this is not for you. I don't mind too much, and I have actually done almost everything. So you knit the front and the back, I think you knit the back first, then you pick up stitches on the shoulders to knit the front, and then you have the neck, which is a very long turtleneck-ishy thing. And then you pick up, or you use a crochet needle to cast on a lot of stitches, pick up stitches around the armhole, and then cast on and do equal stitches on the other side. And that creates this ribbed tie thingy for the underarms. And this is a one size pattern. I actually did less stitches than in the pattern because I'm using a different gauge. My yarn is thicker than what they used. And this is going to be super warm. And I am currently knitting on the second ribbed sleeve edging, or whatever you want to call it. And then you tie this underneath your sleeves, and that makes it more close to body, or you could just have it loose. You could have the neck as long as it's intended to, or you could fold it down. It really depends on the weather, right? But I'm thinking I'm really going to like this. It's going to be a very functional piece. I can see myself wearing this when working in the garden on those days when it's not super nice weather. And now that I've had COVID and my lung function is not optimal, it does feel really nice and soothing to have this warm piece just on my chest area, but my arms are still free to move around, and it is really warm. I definitely think if I would have used the Sunday yarn, it would not have been as warm as this, but this is what I was looking for, and I'm really happy with how the fabric is looking. It's I think it's a really beautiful yarn combination, so highly recommend. Just have to do the last edging here and I'm done. I have been weaving in my ends as I go, because as I'm holding this single but with a silk mohair, if you do pull on it too hard though, it will break. So I just want to weave in my ends before it gets a chance to break very shortly, because that would be sad if all the progress is ruined because of me being not careful. So yeah, that was a pattern from Sandnes garn Myk til dame called the Amy slipover. And then I have in my beautiful Prairie Bag Works bag, I am currently working on basically this top, just that I'm knitting it top down, and in a very pink and bright color. Oh, fluffy fluffies. Yeah, I think I had 50 stitches in the front and back, and something like 24 for the sleeves. That's how the stitch division was for my size, and did some German short rows where I did like 4 stitches in on the front piece and then 4 more each time until I got like maybe here, and then I was satisfied. And then I did raglan increases, continue with that on every second row until I had 100 stitches in the back and 100 in the front approximately. It did seem a little bit short, so I think I maybe did 3 more rounds without increases, or maybe I just did increases on the sleeves, and then I cast on 10 plus stitches underneath the sleeves, and that also helps create some fabric, so it gives a bit more space. And I'm currently working on the sleeve and also at the same time on the body. I think when I finished the second ball on the body, that's when I started the sleeve, so just to make sure that I got the sleeve length that I want, and then I'll use the rest of the yarn to finish the body, because this one is what I'm using on the sleeves now, and then I have 1 more to go. I only have 4. And again, this is the gepard silk seta in the tweed. And this is the color 420. And 25 grams has 210 meters. It's so lovely. The little color variations of this yarn. It feels really nice. And I'm excited to have this happy color in my wardrobe. And honestly, these tops are so functional because they weigh like 100 grams and you can just scrunch them together and put them in your bag. So they're like the perfect thing to bring along when you think you might just get a little bit chilly. And I'm going to Turkey and Rome this summer. So because there's a limitation to how much weight I can have in my luggage, these I am definitely bringing in case there are some chilly evenings. Don't know if there will be, but it's nice to have, and maybe for the plane rides, etc. It's nice to have a little bit of warmth. So that is one whip. And then in my Jezebel leather bag, I have a little sock whip. Just a vanilla sock. I think I had started this last time, but I've made some progress, I believe. I finished the heel and the gusset, and now I'm just doing the leg. This is how I always do my vanilla socks. It's the heel construction that you find in my Moorshell pattern and the rustic cable sock pattern of mine. And it's how my grandma taught me to knit heels. The rest is just plain 1x1 rib, stockinette, do garter until I have a stitch count that fits snugly around my feet. So I always try the leg on my foot and then squeeze any excess stitches, and then I count that and subtract it from my cast on number of stitches, and then I know how many stitches I want to decrease down to in my foot to make it have the perfect foot fit for my foot. So yeah. And this is Zakami yarns that I bought last year. This is their Lulu color in 60% superwash fine merino, 20% baby alpaca, and 20% mulberry silk. So instead of nylon, this has silk content to it, and it's 460 meters per 115 grams. So it's quite a generous skein. It's like a sock fingering weight. And I think once I finish this, I'm still gonna have more left, and I might make a second pair of socks where I hold it together with a silk mohair, because I just love how fingering weight socks with silk mohair held double or held together feels on the feet. And I have some silk mohair that would look beautiful with this colorway held together. Just gonna put my ball band back in the ball so I don't lose it. And yes, I have not made any more squares. If you're a returning viewer, you know that I'm knitting garter squares for a big finull blanket at some point. I haven't made any squares since last time because I've been knitting on other things. So my next project I'm keeping in my plister bag, which I bought in Oslo a few years ago, just before I went obsessive with my knitting. And in it I have some yarn that I bought at the Sandnes garn outlet. So it was a big plastic bag of imperfect skeins that doesn't have ball bands on them. This is the Tynn Line from Sandnes garn, which is a cotton linen and I believe a bit of viscose or polyamide in it, but I don't have a ball band, so don't know the exact composition, but definitely cotton linen and something else. And this is a thinner, it's thinner than fingering weight. Again, don't know the exact yardage, but you can find it online. It's the thinner version of their Line garn, which I've knitted some summer tops. So last week I released the special episode where I showed all my summer knits, and I have 2 tops at least in that video where I used Lina, and it's really nice summer yarn. And I saw the tin Lina. I liked the color. It was very cheap, since there was a bag of these ends that they would otherwise throw away. And I got it not knowing what I would knit with it, because again, it's a very thin yarn. I think I figured I could hold it double and it would be more like the Lina. I feel like the Lina is, yeah, maybe if you hold it double it would be more like the Lina, but it's quite thin. And then I had a look at all the patterns that I have in my library, and I had the Cumulus Tee by Testknit, which is the summer version of her Cumulus blouse, I think. And that pattern uses a 3mm gauge, and I think it even recommended using the tin Lina as one of the recommended yarns, so it was perfect. So I have cast that on, and I've done quite a lot of knitting on it in the past week. And I have to say, I really enjoy knitting with this yarn. I keep holding up the fabric and sort of admiring how drapey and cool it is to the touch, and not in a dry way. A lot of summer cotton yarns are very dry to the touch, but not this. And I just really like the fabric it's creating. I think it's going to be a really nice, thin, cool top to have in the summer. So I'm going to finish this and probably bring this along for my summer vacation. I knit the size medium, but I think I did one extra raglan row, so it's between the medium and the large, because I just wanted like a loose fitting t-shirt style garment. Not sure yet how long I'll make the sleeves, if I'll make them as long as it's recommended in the pattern, or if I'll make them shorter or longer. I have not decided yet. I'm working on the body currently. I have been weaving in my ends as I go, and what I've actually done where I've joined new yarns is that I have tied a little knot, making sure that it doesn't affect how the fabric looks on the outside, and then I have woven it up and down on both sides, and then until they meet again, and then did a knot again, and that seems to be working really well. I know some people talk about a glue you can use on the inside, but I haven't found that yet here in Norway, so this is what I'm doing, and it's seeming to work out. I can't be as lazy with my ends as normal, because when you weave in ends with wool, it's super forgiving. It just stays, it never moves. With plant-based yarns, it's a lot more slippery and not as forgiving. But I am really enjoying the fabric of this tin Lina. I think it looks a lot more even than a lot of the plant-based yarns that I have knit with before. And a lot of this is knitting back and forth, knitting and purling, and there isn't a lot of unevenness going on. So really pleased with this. I have more of it in this big plastic bag, so once I finish this, I'll still have enough yarn to maybe make another t-shirt, but it is a lot of knitting on 3mm needles, so I probably won't cast it on straight away, but never say never. We shall see. And yes, I think that was all of my finished object and whips. I do have some acquisitions, so if that's of any interest, please stay, and if not, I will see you next time. I just need a bit of my medium to cold coffee first. All right. So for acquisitions, maybe we can start with this beautiful looking necklace, but it's not really a necklace. Brittany from Crux Fibers, she's an Instagram friend of mine. She has a podcast, she dyes yarn, and recently she has started taking Canadian pennies and making stitch markers and progress keepers out of them. I don't know if you can see perfectly or if everything is blowing out. But she very kindly gifted me this penny from 1994, which is my birth year. And I immediately thought it was so cute that I figured I would wear it as a pendant. And that way I also always have a stitch marker around when I need one. And she told me that that's how it started out for her as well. She wore it as a pendant, and then she started making and selling them as stitch markers. So she very generously sent me one with my birth year. And as if that wasn't generous enough, she also sent me some yarn. And I bought her Christmas advent calendar last year. So I have several minis of her. And she sent me this mini skein set, which is right up my alley. These are beautiful. And these are the Midnight Genius, Gold Rush, and Beaver Lodge. And if I'm guessing, this would be the Midnight Genius, Beaver Lodge, and Gold Rush. And also she sent me an alabaster colored blue-faced Leicester, 100% blue-faced Leicester, 115 grams, and these are all 25 grams. And I just think these would make beautiful socks, like a sock with this as the base, and then a contrasting heel, cuff, and toes in these colors. You could also, I could use it for something else, but that is kind of what it's calling out to be for me. So thank you so much, Brittany. It's beautiful. I love these colors together. It's very autumnal, very up my alley, and beautiful. So thank you. And also, since last time I went to the cabin, I needed to get that yarn for the testknit for Laura, and outside the yarn store they had a sale on some beautiful silk mohair. And since I've been on a pink stroll lately, I thought this pink was really beautiful. This is the tin silk mohair from Sandnes garn. They only had 3 of the pink, and then they had 2 of this pale champagne-y color. I don't think they're even in the same color batch, because they are slightly different looking, but they were super affordable, and I put them together and I figured this would make a really cute striped top. Now, I'm not sure which pattern to use, or if I will just make something up as I go. I could just make another one of these, but with stripes. If it'll be thin stripes or thick stripes, I'm not sure, but I just thought it was too cute to let go. And I do really like this yarn. I think I've used this for socks before, held it with merino, and it's held up really well. It's beautiful and soft, and yeah. They also have a silk mohair that is a lot thicker. This is their thin silk mohair, and it has 212 meters per 25 grams. And I think that's the same as the Isair silk mohair and the Knitting for Olive silk mohair. So this is like a standard silk mohair, while the one that they call silk mohair, which is like the thicker one, that one is has less meterage because it's thicker, right? So yeah, a little acquisition for my stash, because I love knitting for my stash. And then in these paper bags, which are super crinkly, I bought, and then it came in the mail, some Knitting yarn. Now, I still have not knitted with the new teedin that I bought a year ago, but I have been knitting the tulip sweater from Hillesvåg and now the Amy slipover, and I'm loving knitting with it when I'm holding it with silk mohair, even better. And I just love the way the garments feel, so I want to make more garments with unspun. But I don't want to knit it without a silk mohair. I want to hold it with a silk mohair so that the knitting process is also more fun for me. And I always find that it's hard to see how the colors of the new teedin look before it arrives, because it just doesn't look the same as in photos. So I got the Fiseline, I believe. Fiseline or Fliseline. It's a neutral. It's a warm white with some gray elements to it. It's very similar to the Hillesvåg yarn that I made the tulip in, but this is more beigey, while that one is more gray. And I did want to get another colorway, which is actually this one, but they were sold out. But they sent a little mini of it from their production. But yes. And another color that I did get, I think it's 500 grams that I have of these two colors. This is the color Grodd. Yeah, it's the color Grodd. It's like a pale grassy green, and the reason I got this is because I thought they would look really nice together for some color work. But I also, because I really like this one, I might make a sweater out of this alone, and then I'll always find another sweater to make with this. I didn't have any silk mohair in my stash that looked suitable for this, because I did have some whites and beiges, but that would kind of tone down the green, and I didn't want that because I really liked the spring bright pale green. So I got some Isair from my local yarn store at the cabin, and this is my favorite silk mohair to date, and maybe the gepard actually beats it. At least when I hold it on its own, this is my favorite because it has the really nice color play. But this is the softest that I have come across. It's 75% kid mohair and 25% silk, 212 meters, and this is the color 57, and I just thought it was a good combination for this green because it'll bring out the bright green in it. It's not going to tone it down. If anything, it'll brighten it up, but not too different that it's going to take away from the colors in this yarn. So yeah, I think this is the combination I'm going to go for. I kind of want to make a big oversized snuggly sweater in this. Maybe like a boyfriend style to just throw on. Haven't quite decided, but I think it would be nice. And my last, or actually I have some like tool acquisitions. So at the yarn store they had what they called an ullkam. So this is a comb for your knitting to kind of de-pill it. I have a proper, like a bigger de-piller with different kind of combs that you can attach to it. I haven't used it yet. I also have one of those electrical de-pillers, but I figured this one is so small that it would be perfect to kind of take with you if you're going somewhere and you know that you have a sweater that might need to be de-pilled, and it weighs nothing, it's super small, it's easy to throw along, and then you can just de-pill when you have the time. This one doesn't pill, it's a silk mohair. I don't find that they pill. Not yet, anyways. So yeah, I got this little handy travel tool. And then, since last time, some stitch markers that I bought have arrived. So I ordered some stitch markers from Hello Lavender. Now I will say that these are not cheap stitch markers, but she is an artist. She does everything herself by hand. It's beautifully made. So I wanted to support her, and I've been drooling over her stitch marker for ages. And she recently did sort of a mushroom themed one, and this one's my favorite. So the big ones are the one that takes the most time to make for her, I think. So those are the most costly ones, but she also sells these sort of kits where you get one of those fancy ones and then 3 more simple but still beautiful stitch markers to go with it. I also got this one and another one. This one is really beautiful too. It's very detailed and nice looking, I think. I don't know if it's focusing. So yeah. So I got these 3 from her. Quite an investment, but they're so stunning. So these are very special, and I'll make sure not to lose these ones. It's just can't wait to start putting them on my project in fall. They're very autumnal with the mushroom themes. And last but not least, my parents who are in Turkey, where they have a house, and my mother got me a set of needles from our local yarn store in Turkey. So I think these are some sort of Knit Pro Knitter's Pride needles. They are partly wooden and partly metal. So far I have only used the 4mm ones. I used them for the souffle on the summer souffle testknit, and they were really nice to knit with. It's interesting to have the properties of holding the wooden parts, which I like, but you still get the metal tips. So interesting and nice combination. I don't have any needles like this. Like I have a lot of needles. I have metal ones, bamboo ones, driftwood ones, but I don't have any that's a combination of wood and metal. So this was really nice, and I'm interested in seeing how they hold up, and they at least have the same cord connections as my Knit Pro needles and Lykke needles, so they're all interchangeable, which is really nice. Because I find with all the whips that I have going, sometimes I have several whips with the same needle size, and then you might need some for the sleeve and some for the body, and then I don't like to be restricted, so it's nice to have more than one set so that I can work on more than one project at a time. And definitely for me, my most used needles are 3 to 4.5. That's like my comfort zone. Sometimes I do chunky knitting, but I really am happy with the finer gauge knitting. It takes me a little bit longer, and I'm all about the process of knitting, so I really like it. And also I find that with the tighter gauge knits, they hold up a bit better, they pill less, they last longer. At least from most of the knits that I have, that's how I find them to be. And yes, that must be everything. I think it's enough. Maybe a little bit of knit and sit and knit with me for a bit, knitty chat. I can knit on my Cumulus Tee because I'm on Stockinette Island and happy to be there. And of course everything's a mess. So yeah. So since last time, spring is arriving here. It's no longer snowing now. We have more than 5 Celsius most nights. So I have started to plant a few things out in the garden. Before I got COVID, I built some raised flower beds. I think I made like 5 of them. wooden materials are not very cheap, and I'm finding that gardening is just an expensive hobby as knitting, but it's a lot of fun, and I really want to invest a little bit in the garden so I can spend my time weeding and gathering flowers and berries and just enjoying it. So I've made the raised flower beds, and I haven't planted them completely, so I still have space for some tomato plants, flowers, strawberries maybe, we shall see. I've planted out some sunflowers and some like lemon smelling herb that you can put in your tea, and something that looks like grass but it tastes like onions. It's really nice to put in food. I've also planted some flower seeds inside, and they have like little plants, so soon I'll try to plant those out. We also have some area in the back with a sort of wall against the neighbors, so there I want to have plants that grow up. So I have planted some flowers and some is it boysenberries that are of the climbing type. So interesting to see if things survive and if something will actually thrive. So that's what I've been up to when I've not been knitting, sort of just planting and planning and dreaming. So yeah, we still don't have any furniture outside because I spent our budget on soil and planks for the raised flower beds. But it's fine, it's fine. It's gonna be nice in the end. And yeah, that's what I've been up to. I did go to the cabin, and other than that I've been working a lot, and we had our national day here in Norway, which is always a huge celebration, but I had COVID, so I stayed at home, and I'm hoping to go to the cabin again soon, the one weekend where I'm not working. And then before we know it, summer will be here, and traveling again for the first time in 3 years, which is scary and exciting at the same time. So I'm really looking forward to that. And yeah, I do hope I get to record an episode before I go traveling, but no promises because life is busy. But I will hopefully have the time to record, and if not, there will just be all the more knitting to show you afterwards. You can always find me on Instagram. I do post some stories there of what I'm knitting on and working on, so if I don't get to record an episode, at least I'll put some little life updates and knitting wise on there. And yes, I need to figure out what knitting projects to bring for the holiday, because I want something that I'm not going to run out of things to knit on. Because yes, I will knit in Turkey in the sun on a sunbed because I am that obsessive. So I need to find something maybe light and small, but still something that will keep me going. It should also not be too heavy because of the weight. I need to make sure I have all the needles and stitch markers and all the things I might need. I need to make sure that I have what I need, but not too much. So I need to pack smart. So this is a whole process of thinking about what to bring for knitting. I don't know if anyone else has the same dilemma or if people are more seasonal knitters, but I need to make sure that I'll bring some knitting. And also, I want to get some summer yarns when I'm in Turkey at the knitting store there. Maybe when I go to Rome, I'll find some knitting stores there to get some Italian yarns. So I also need to have room for that. We shall see. It will be very exciting. All right. I don't think I have anything more interesting to talk about, so I think we'll call it a day here. And you stay safe and happy. I hope that you find comfort in your knitting and that you have something to look forward to this summer. And hopefully I will see you soon. Bye!